Hello, and welcome to the Triangle Business Podcast. I'm your co-star, Joey Natale, followed by,
I'm Scott Moore. I
hey
like
y'all.
co-star. We're not just hosts anymore. We're stars.
Yeah, well, we can keep it that way. That's funny. Co-star.
I mean, what's we're at like 30 episodes now
This is the
almost, aren't
30th
we?
episode. Yeah,
Yeah. So I
thank you.
like we get a gold star.
We do.
We're
Absolutely.
stars.
I agree. So today's topic, we were having discussions around, oh God, what did you say? I like the title that you came up with.
What do you do when everything's going right?
When everything's going
Or
right.
maybe like you got where you were headed and now what?
Yes. So a couple things come to mind. One, I was briefly working with a client. Um, Frankly, we only had like a one session off, and his description of his experience in his business was he was white knuckling his way through 10 years of building a business and built it up, and it's very successful. And he works like every day, and except Sunday, and he has a family and he has family time, but like he seemed, which was interesting. So I was like, oh, do you like, there's this quote of like, time enjoyed is not time wasted. He was able to actually enjoy his time, which I thought was strange. But like, it's almost like he was in constant fight or flight response for 10 years and he didn't know how to navigate his nervous system. Now, my experience of that person is maybe they needed therapy more than coaching. I don't know, but that's what came up, honestly. But
It can be
it was
like that
actually
sometimes.
yeah, and so like it was interesting because I wasn't sure exactly like how to help him in a lot of ways. He was ADHD, so like shiny object syndrome, and like he we're getting to a very specific case. We're gonna get it broad in a minute, but like he tried a bunch of things, and I was just like, man, I don't know what to tell you. I think we could have had more success if he was open to working with each other longer. But I think it brings up an interesting point of like if you well, here's something that comes to mind. I'll say it this way. Um, if you build your business, like I used to be really eager to go faster. Maybe it's because I'm ADHD or just like I'm eager to get to the next level. But if you speed your way there, you need to keep up that momentum. I was always told to maintain it. And it's hard for you to let off the gas. And that may not be true,
Yeah,
but
I mean, I am a firm believer that my my path will always be a series of sprinting and resting.
right. But with no rests in this example.
Well, like, yeah, but nobody does that. Like
Well,
literally, like
not like
nowhere in nature is the example just sprint all the time and keep sprinting and don't ever stop sprinting. Like,
well, a lot of people online recommend that. You need to be working 16-hour days because if you're not, you're not hustling hard enough, like the hustle culture thing.
well, I mean, that's the grind,
Right.
culture,
We've talked about that.
right?
That's kind of what
Which
I meant.
sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll rest when I'm dead. Yeah, you will. Maybe sooner than later.
You'll
Or
get there
or
faster.
maybe alone because of the relationships that you're ignoring.
Yes.
But it feels to me just like missing the point of self-employment of entrepreneurship if you don't build in time. But not just because you deserve a break, but like how would you have the mental capacity to assimilate what you're achieving and the new level that you've arrived at
Yeah.
um without like some like quiet contemplation time, like a break, a vacation, stepping away from the business. um yeah, I mean, look, I completely understand that when you're in crisis mode and you're trying to fix a problem,
Mm.
you can totally get so used to fixing problems that whenever there isn't one, you'll generate one.
Yes, that's interesting. Um,
But instead of thinking of it like problems, this is one of the reasons why I'm like very, I work with clients to establish like milestones. Like when we
right,
get to here, we'll know we did something.
right.
And of course, we'll still probably have a few things to clean up. And we'll also then have to like take a deep breath and plan what's the next milestone. But there's lots of other things you can do when you got what you were going for.
Right.
Um, that makes sense at that point. Um, and doesn't have to be like, well, let me just what's the next biggest problem to work on? Um, I mean, what about celebration? Like, when was the last time you celebrated getting to a certain milestone?
Last time I celebrated was when I got my ICF level
When you
twos,
got what?
my ICF certification.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a big deal.
he was. Yeah, and that was pretty great. That was last December, which
I'm going to
enabled me to get some
suggest
more gigs.
also
Yes.
that like one, I was there for this one, but like when we got to 20 episodes on the
Oh,
podcast,
yes, that one too.
you told me that. I don't know if the audience will, I haven't researched this none, but I trust Joey when he says that like 80% of podcasts don't make it to 20 episodes.
Something like that. Yeah.
And so when we got to there, we were like, let's have a celebration. And we actually just made some new friends that night and went
Yeah.
out and had a fun meal. And it was in a kind of a crazy place. It was bingo night at this restaurant and it was chaos.
Yeah.
But the food was, was pretty good and the conversations were good and we had a good time. It was a memorable night and it felt celebratory that we got to, say, yeah, go us. We did a thing.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think like we want to celebrate those things. I mean, it's one of the reasons why, you know, holiday parties are really big for a lot of companies because, like, what you're kind of doing is saying we made it through another year.
Right. Yeah.
Like some companies didn't, and we
Yes,
did, and so we should celebrate that. But um,
I agree. I I want to switch gears, but
yeah,
I was curious about your insight about the guy we first started opening the conversation with.
yeah,
People who were like, I would believe this. The story I make up is this person was kind of grinding their way their business
yeah.
and not resting as much. And so like, um, what comes to mind of like how you support that person? Again, that person might need therapy, might not be
Uh,
the
yeah.
expertise that we need, but like learning to
Well, I mean,
slow
like,
down, step away, touch grass.
I, I oftentimes I'll say to a client, like, with the way things are now, what does a perfect day look like for you?
Mhm.
And like, if they're like, I'm at the beach, I don't have a worry in the world, I've got a cold drink in my hand, my kids are playing in the water. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, that sounds like a pretty perfect day. When is your next beach vacation planned?
Mhm.
And also, what does a perfect Tuesday look like for you? Right? Like, what does a perfect workday look like for you? And how might we redesign the business or implement practices that allow that to happen as soon as possible?
That's
Like, if you've done all the work and you got where you wanted to go, then there ought to be some version of, I mean, let's leave perfect out of it and just say
right.
excellent. Like that, a design for an excellent day ought to be pretty obvious. Like this is, you and I have done loads of of work with visualizations and stuff like that, and just like get really detailed, like, you know, how much light is coming into your bedroom when you wake up in the morning, and like, um
What do you
you know,
feel? What do you
yeah,
hear?
yeah, how
Like,
long is your shower,
yeah, like,
what do you eat for breakfast,
yeah.
um
The
get very
more,
granular about the detail of that, um
the more
because
senses you can engage, and the more
yeah,
clarity you get, and the more you make it real, and the more your nervous system is like, oh, we know what to do when this happens, and this
right.
is familiar to us, kind of thing. So
But
I
I
definitely
think
agree.
one of the things people struggle with is they're like, yeah, I know, but I've been so busy doing a bunch of things that when I don't have anything else to do, I get nervous and I feel like I'm being complacent.
Yeah, which is interesting. That was the thing we were talking about is like sometimes people feel like success is more uncomfortable than struggle.
Yeah, yeah. But look, speaking for myself, I've joked often. I just told this to a friend of mine the other day who is still an appraiser and was in the appraisal business with me, got me into the appraisal business back in the day, about how one of my joking titles for my memoir would be deferred maintenance. And that's a term that we use in the appraisal industry. It's probably pretty easy to figure out what it means, but it's just like you should have been doing these things to keep everything up,
Mhm.
but you didn't because you were too busy doing something else.
Mhm.
And one of the things, because I understand that about myself, like one of the things I've noticed is when I have some downtime, um, but I want to get out in my shop. Sometimes the best thing for me to do is just like spend a day like sweeping the floor. Like, look at all these shavings and little bits of metal. Like, let me just clean all this out. And I
Mhm.
always feel really accomplished when I do that, even though I don't have like a cool woodworking or blacksmithing piece to hold up and say, look what I did today. Like, a swept floor is an accomplishment. And I'm under no illusions. It's not going to stay that way. But I know, like, while I'm in the making of the next part, there's going to be a bunch of shavings on the floor that I cannot bring myself to give a shit about until much later.
Yes. The same happens to me when I go on vacation and come back and leave my luggage everywhere until I take the time to clean up my room and make, oh, look, I can see all the floor again. And it feels so good because like my room is also my office space because I run an Airbnb in my house. So the house is immaculate all the time, but my room is
uh,
not. So like one mess I get to have until I clean it up. But it feels so
yeah.
good and I feel more clear-headed. And we talked about this in another episode, but there's this concept of like, I guess this would fall into the admin category of business of just like some tasks, like cutting the grass in my house or cleaning the floor, where it's not making me any money, but it's actually reducing a psychological load,
Yeah.
getting more clarity and like feeling good about it and things like that. Um, that's interesting. Kind of going back to what we were talking about is like people who get anxious when things are going well in business.
Well,
And
like what you just said though about admin,
oh, sure.
like if you're like, I'm anxious because things seem like they're going really well.
Mhm.
I'm like, check your admin. And I'm not saying this from like a maybe it's not as good as you think it is. I'm
Right.
saying check your admin and see, is it going the way I think it's going? Is it going even better?
Yeah.
And if it is, well, like, first of all, pat yourself on the back, the celebration part, but also like look at your calendar. Like, what is the last quarter been like?
Hmm.
What's a typical week look like? Because if you're being really successful and that's causing you to be successful, then if you want it to keep going like it's going, then design your calendar going forward so you're doing the same activities that got you here.
Hmm.
Also, might be a good time to go, yeah, but for me to get to the next level, I can't do what got me here, because what got me here is going to just keep producing similar results probably.
Yes.
Um, so I mean, like there's when people are like, there's really nothing to do this week. I'm like, good, take the week off.
Yeah.
And the second week that there's nothing to do, I don't know, take another week off if you want to. But if you want something to do while it seems to all be running smoothly, look at your numbers
Mm.
and figure out, do they say what I think they said?
Mhm.
Is there something different than what I thought? And also, you know, what might I do different if I want to have a different result than this?
Yeah. Here's a question that comes to mind is why do business owners create new problems when there is no immediate crisis? Kind of hinted that earlier.
Because it's more comfortable to keep doing, to like be in crisis mode. I'm really a big fan of the over function, under function idea,
Okay.
that like some people are wired that when there's a problem, they do more
Mhm.
and feel less. And there's some people when there's a problem that they feel more and they do less. And I'm not making any value judgment about like one of
I
those
think
being
I'm
good
the
or bad,
second one for
but
sure.
that's fine.
Yeah.
And like I do observe that among entrepreneurs, over functioners tend to be represented heavily.
Mm.
And our I am one. Our problem is, as long as we keep generating enough problems or to-do lists or things we got to work on, we don't need to stop and feel
Mm.
all the things that we should be feeling.
Okay.
And like if you live like that for years at a time, your emotional regulatory system is going to be pretty jacked up. And the mountain of feelings that you've been putting off probably just feels insane.
Interesting. So we were talking before about a client of mine who views someone who needs 24 hours to regulate their emotions when their problem comes up as a emotional quote versus they take only 5 minutes. And so what comes to mind is we don't have enough data, or I don't have enough data to say like, are you actually processing your emotions or are you just suppressing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, one of our mutual friends, who's a leadership trainer,
Mhm.
um, I'm not going to go into the whole story about this, but like a heavy, upsetting thing happened right when we were doing a selection call for who was going to be on a leadership team.
Mhm.
And I was like, got it. Like, that sucks. But now it's time to pull this team together and execute on the next phase.
Mhm.
And he accused me. He's like, Scott, I see what you're doing. It's you're putting that in a bag and you're just going to drag that bag around with you for the rest of the time we're doing this. I was like, you're damn right I'm putting it in the bag, but I will unpack it later and deal with it.
Mhm.
But like we're in a sprint right now, that's meant for when we're in a rest.
Mhm.
So I'll deal with it. And if you don't believe me, then we should probably have a separate talk about that, because maybe I'm full of shit. But my practice is like when you're in the thick of it, you execute and handle things. And I'm not saying that this is the right way.
Mhm.
It's just my way. It's the
Mhm.
over functioner way.
Okay.
Is like I don't have time to think that. I don't have time to feel that. I'll have to feel that later.
Interesting.
And you know, it is what it is. I'm not saying it's better than that. Like, let's just take a moment to feel all those feelings
Mhm.
and have our emotional experience, and then we'll decide what to do. Like that could
Ah,
be a really good idea in a lot of cases.
which is what I do, actually.
Yeah.
Is that what do you call the overfunction? What's the other one you call it?
Underfunction.
Underfunction.
And that sounds like a value judgment,
Yeah.
but it's not.
Okay.
Just the same way that being overheated is not better than being underheated.
Right. Good. Thanks for the distinction.
Yeah.
I would align more with feeling first, my
Yeah.
experience of myself and how I move through the world in business and things that like if I'm so transparent with how I feel, like I cannot hide how I feel. And it's very challenging for me to do so. So I just don't. And so it it just seems to kind of take a hold of me sometimes. Now, that doesn't mean I'm robbed by my emotions and a helpless person of things like that. But processing those things needs to be a priority so that I can think and execute more efficiently and clearly, which I've
Yeah.
noticed how I process. Doesn't mean I'm going to take all day to do it, but like usually externally processing my emotions is what kind of gets me there faster, making connections. So it's interesting because like I've noticed, and I really appreciate you articulating that, like that's how I move the world. And maybe growing up, people would label me as sensitive. And what I push back by saying, somebody smart once said, that's like saying, what is that? A fart calling a nose too sensitive. But the nose isn't the problem,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
That's funny.
It's just
I mean,
not.
one of the ways that I perceive you and other people that are underfunctioners in this model is like they it's like the concept of like slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like I was in a situation one time where we were given a task and we were on a timeline and everybody was just like grabbing things and doing things or whatever and it was chaos. And like you could just feel the vibe in the room was we're not going to make it. We know we're not going to make it and we're trying so hard to do something. And a very smart guy who was there, who had been in the military, just like stood up and said, "Hey, I was taught slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So could we just calm down a little bit and like talk about like what are you guys doing over here? And like what are you guys doing over here?" And then like a few people moved around and changed teams of things based on what they were doing. And it was like, okay, well, we have 17 more minutes, so I guess let's keep moving. And like we got it done and we had 3 or 4 minutes to spare at the end and nobody could believe it. But I really do believe in that sometimes just being like, whoa, like what are we going to do here? Let's take some time to think about it instead of jumping right into action where suddenly it's chaos driving the bus and this frantic energy actually doesn't it sometimes you get it done and it's wrong. Like
right.
it needs to be done again. So all of these things are like we're just not comfortable when it's quiet.
Yes.
I mean,
It's
you and I were even talking earlier about letting like giving a client the gift of uncomfortable silence if if they say I don't know something and just being like that's okay to not know. We have time right now to like wait until we know.
yeah.
And I think it's a lot the same energy of like, you know, like I'm being successful. I'm not even sure I need to do anything right now. Like that's a great time to just be with that and, catch your breath.
Yeah. And I want to add something to that. I think what the audience might find interesting this has been my experience that mostly shows up with ADHD people, but not always. Certainly not only them. And this has best been my experience too. Let's use an example in school. So like everything's fine. nothing's wrong. And you go into school like, oh shit, I forgot to do my homework.
Yeah.
And it's too late now. And so like this sometimes happens because there's this experience with ADHD, and not just ADHD, some people like out of sight, out of mind,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Just you just literally just don't remember. There's nothing, no really rhyme or reason to it. And that happens so often that sometimes what it can develop is, well, I always forget something, but I don't know what it is.
Hmm.
So, oh shit, now I must be hypervigilant, which then keeps you in a heightened state of anxiety of like everything's fine. What did I forget? What am I missing? Which I think is kind of what we've been talking about here in business. And so that's interesting. So I like that you say go to admin, which might be a good solution for this. But it's just something to keep in mind that like if you experience that with ADHD, which I have
Yeah.
certainly, because one thing
That's
I know about
funny.
myself is that when
I
I go on vacation,
yeah.
like this might be a self-fulfilling prophecy. But even though I know it and I double check my list twice and three times to see if I'm on the good list, um, I forget one thing. Usually it's not very vitally important, but I'm like, I forgot that. And I always do. So anyway, what were you
With
going to say?
that was the literal example I was coming up with because I mean I travel a fair bit,
Yeah.
usually to the same kinds of places for the same kinds of things, and
Mhm.
like what my bag looks like when I'm leaving the house, pretty consistent. And I get that feeling of anxiety, like I know I'm forgetting something.
Yes.
And one of the things that I've a practice that I've tried to cultivate is if I have my wallet and my insulin, I can solve almost every other problem that I encounter.
Yes.
And um, it's funny because a few months ago, I had a stress dream of coming up to a trip that I just picked up my daughter and we went to the airport. She's like, "Where's your bag?" I'm like, "I don't have it." And I was like, I got my wallet in my pocket and my insulin's in my other pocket. I'll just buy everything else I need when I get there. My daughter was like, "You're being super chill about this, but I feel like it's going to cause a lot of problems when we get there that like you don't have another pair of pants to wear or like and I was just being like and it's funny because I woke up in the morning I was like okay I've got to start packing now but yeah like when everything is going really smoothly we just generate that stress. I will say one other um specific if people want an idea for like in this may be literal for you it may be metaphorical for you
Mhm.
but a few years ago I watched Adam Savage, who's was the one of the guys from Mythbusters. He's got a YouTube channel called Tested,
Mhm.
and he did a whole video about he called it taking stock of your stock.
Mm.
He's got a massive workshop. He's always building things, and
Mhm.
he's like once a year. I try to get around. He doesn't try to do the whole shop at once because that would be crazy. But he's like, I'll go to all of my lumber and just take everything out
Mhm.
and stack it up and organize it and look at what I've got. And I almost always end up with a pile of scrap. And it was there's a lot of jokes about, dads are holding on to this one piece of board that they
Yes.
just know they're going to come up with a use for it one of
That's
these days.
there's a video I need to send you because
And
my
we
dad
and
does
we
the
do
exact
that,
thing.
right? We do
Yeah.
that, but sometimes one of the things that can come up for you in that is that you realize I've been hanging on to some things that I've leveled up past.
Right.
Like one of his things in his shop is he has like a big collection of like polycarbonate and nylon and things like this that you use to build models out of.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I used to save all these little scraps because I just know that one of these days I might need something. He goes, but you know what? If I throw this chunk away and I need another thing, I have a bigger, better chunk, or I can just buy another chunk, have my wallet with me and I can just buy another thing. I'm going to put this in the donate bucket and take it to the makerspace, and anybody that wants it can have it because I've leveled up past needing to hold on to that board or that chunk of nylon or whatever.
Yes.
And and I find like when I, do that with my metal stock, like things I'm holding on to, like, well, someday I might want to make something out of this, as a blacksmithing project. Like there's things I was hanging on to in the first 3 or 4 years that I'm like, I don't need that anymore. I'm
Right.
not going to use that for anything now that I know what I know. So take stock of your stock. And that can look like lots of things. Like in a service-based business, it might be like, who are the people on your contact list that you haven't talked to in a long time, or they stop being clients at some point and you just send them an email like, hey, just wanted to touch base. I hope you're doing well. Miss you. If you ever want to catch up and grab a coffee, let's do that. Because, there might be some ones in there that you want to go back and refresh. I mean,
Hmm.
that was one of the other lessons from the videos. Like sometimes you pull stuff out, you're like, oh, I forgot I had this. I
Yes.
should make something cool out of this thing that I forgot I had. But sometimes you're like, you may look at the list and be like, I'm just going to take them off my contact list because, I've leveled up past that. So anyway, that's just like a specific part of what we're talking about is the discomfort of not knowing, and like just be with that discomfort. But if
Yes.
if you want a little project anyway to shove into the you're not knowing space, then take stock of your stock.
That's true. I'll say someone that we know and care about a lot, which is a mutual close person to us. She realized the problem of always forgetting things. So she has a separate suitcase that is always fully stocked
Oh,
at all times,
okay.
rather than just having to repack. She doesn't.
Uh-huh. Like
So
as soon as you get back from the last trip, just pack the bag for the
just
next trip, and
well,
it's
it's
ready to
always
go.
there. You just clothes. You may take out some of the clothes, but like everything, all the other essentials, like it's already there. You just put it away and then you bring it back out.
Hmm.
So we're like,
I
'cause
mean, there's like a very prepper go bag kind of mentality, um, uh, that could be showing up there, and,
maybe,
and like some of that is anxiety. People managing their anxiety.
yeah, I think this also relates to business because it's like, how effective is your admin system? Which is like, you can't remember everything. I love my dad. And he also is like, you write things down, Joey, you're 30 something years old. You should be able to remember things. I'm like, yeah, no. Why would I do that? That's stupid. Why would I want to waste my mental energy to try to remember everything I need to do? It's kind of like trying to think of a grocery list in your head and go there, and I will forget like four things. Like, oh, I could have done that. And then you have to go back again. Like, that's just stupid. It has nothing to do with age, but like I pick on him all the time about that.
I
Same
think
thing
that
is true.
having routine is really good because it lets you save brain space for the mission critical stuff.
Yes, which is why we do this podcast like every Tuesday as
Yep.
of this moment. So we just like, this is the time and day we do it.
Right.
We
And
come
we can
here, we
renegotiate it, that we can make an exception,
first.
but there's usually not an exception. I was
Yeah.
one of the things I did years ago that made life easier when I was out heavy on the networking circuit is I bought a bunch of branded shirts, Scott Moore coaching shirts. And I wouldn't like when I got up in the morning, I was like, what do I wear today? I'm like, no, you put on your pants and you put on one of those shirts and out the door you go. You don't have to think about it, especially because like my thinking ability before I had my coffee was really compromised. And
Yes,
then I could, spend brain power on like who am I meeting today, or
right.
are there any challenges on my schedule that I need to be thinking ahead to. I could actually devote brain space to the exception because the rule part was already handled. So um yeah. I mean, this
Also,
has been a fun topic because I do think like a little bit I'm experiencing right now. Like my business is not stagnant,
mhm.
but like, I'm been hovering right around like 1 to 2 clients away from full. Um, the other things in my life, the marketing mechanisms are continuing to produce a nice steady stream of sales opportunities. Like things feel like they're going pretty smooth, and part of me feels a little nervous about that.
Yeah,
And but also like This is a summer where literally while we were on this call, a notification popped up that a friend of mine was asking if I was headed up to New York or Boston um, between now and September. And the answer is, for the first time in 5 years, no.
Oh,
My kid is not in New York anymore.
okay.
I'm not going up there. And part of me is like, well, maybe I should. Maybe I need to be planning a trip. Maybe I should be trying to keep busy. I'm like, no, 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 it's fine. I've got I've got squash and okra to harvest out of my garden. Like there's plenty of
Yes.
little fun maintenance,
Yes.
clean up the shop kinds of things for me to do here. I don't have to generate another big outing every couple of weeks just to stay busy. Because if I'm not busy, then what am I even doing with my life? So
Right. Well
enjoy the
said.
rest. Maybe
Enjoy the
this is like the
rest.
perfect summertime episode, right? Like we're coming up on July 4th weekend, and
Yes.
it's traditionally a time where a lot of people are like, you get that out of office response
Yes.
when you send them an email. So um I don't know. Any final thoughts on this one?
When things are going well, that doesn't mean they're not going to go well. It's kind of like the gambler's fallacy that comes to mind, which is,
Mm-hmm.
oh, how many losses I've got, I'm guaranteed to get a win, which is not always true. So, like, it's good to be in a place of like preventative versus crisis. And sometimes you can't always control that, of course. Um, but I guess learning to be familiar when things are going well rather than wanting to always strive when like to put yourself in a mindset or state of or physical place of things are not going well. Right.
I, I I think something that just came up for me is when you're setting milestones for yourself, go ahead, not just like this is where I want to get to, but also go ahead and plan the celebration in advance
Hmm.
so that you have them together. And then, like, at least you have a chance when you get to the milestone of going, like, and then we all went out to dinner. And
Yep.
then I took myself on that big vacation, and then I
Yes.
bought myself, a new car or whatever. Um, and so, I mean, that was one of Danielle's, my wife's, big things is like when we paid off the solar panels, which happened back in February, I guess. She was like, I want to find a new car. I've never had a new car. My car's getting really old,
Yeah.
starting to have some breakdowns, and she got a new car
Yeah.
2 months ago. So
Yeah.
it's been great.
Cool.
So celebrate. All right,
Celebrate.
my friend. Yeah,
Well,
good
thank
good
you all
app.
for listening. If you
Yeah, thanks,
like
folks.
this, subscribe, follow, give a comment, tell us what you love, tell us what you hated, reach out. We're looking for guests. Let us know. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.